Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
What's happening? What's happening? Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's Thursday, April 22nd. Might as well be April 22nd, hopefully. That'll happen soon. Maybe this whole friggin' crisis will be over. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me, as always.
What's up?
Per normal, per usual.
Still in the bunker. Don't know when I'll ever get out.
Yeah, we're trapped. I'm like hitting, you hit a certain level of boredom after a while. I'm trying to like fake work.
Fake work.
Pretend I'm actually working on stuff.
Pretend you're busy.
Yeah. My wife said, I can't engage in video games for 8 hours a day. So there goes 90% of my schedule.
So you can do it for 7 hours a day.
No, not even that.
I mean,
did I mention video games on the last podcast? That's just all I'm thinking about. The fact that I can't wake up at 6 a.m. and play video games until 10 o'clock at night is just so unfortunate.
Because there's so many people in the world that are doing that right now.
Yeah. No. If you are extremely bored, don't resort to playing video games for 8 hours a day. That's a problem. Yeah. I've been extremely bored, though. We got a lot to get to in this episode. We're going to rank part two of our running backs. Both of our running back rankings are a little bit different from each other. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of bit. So that should be relatively interesting to go through. But we're going to start off with a question. Before we get into the question, check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at thefantasychampions. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. You can subscribe wherever you're listening currently. Leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Oh, I almost burped there. That would have been disgusting.
It's that quarantine food.
Yeah. Oh, dude, snacking. Ugh.
It's out of hand.
I've decided that I'm gonna gain I'm probably gonna gain. No, I haven't decided.
You know how many
I'm
people
going
are
to
gonna gain weight?
I'm just gonna. Yeah, I was listening to. Everyone's having a problem with fitness, even the people who are fitness people. And going to the gym, obviously you can't. And you have to come up with ways to work out at home. And I'm like, people are just going to come out of this thing obese.
It's just, yeah.
People are just going to eat. People are going to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. I am trying not to eat, but I'm eating a lot.
That's how it is.
We went shopping and I put a list for snacks. It's not a good idea. Let's get into a quick question. I don't know if you saw the quick question, Rick.
I did just see it now, and I already know. I already have two guys.
Wow. I'm
pretty good.
I'm not sure. So the question, I was like, give me your answer to the question that the people don't know. So the question is, which player do you think will be the most overrated in 2020 redraft leagues? So a guy that everyone's going to hype up, they're going to draft really high, they're going to get really excited about, and then he's going to just crap his pants.
Yeah, there's two guys that stand out for me. First one is somebody we talked about on our last show, Aaron Jones. I think the season he had last year, I believe he finished third or fourth among running backs. And people are going to look at that and take him, maybe had him on their team last year and take him in the top 5. Yeah. And I don't think that is a good idea at all. I don't think he should be a first round pick. I don't hate Aaron Jones, but I just don't see him scoring 20 touchdowns again next year.
Yeah.
And then the other guy is Lamar Jackson, who I do like Lamar a lot. And I have him number 1 among quarterbacks. But you know that somebody had him on their team last year and won the league. They're taking him in the first round. I think he's going to get taken in the first round, like just as much, if not more, than Mahomes was this past draft. He's going to be a first-round pick in a lot of drafts, which I think is just dumb.
Yeah. Strat-wise, Lamar Jackson getting drafted high is stupid, and he's going to be drafted high anyway. So we can't stop that. But The Aaron Jones one, I totally agree with.
Yeah.
He's definitely, the touchdowns are a huge indicator that he's bound for regression. His ADP, I'm going to pull that up right now. I think we talked about him on the last show. I'm not sure we talked about the ADP or not, but his ADP for 2020 right now is, hold on a second. Where are you, Aaron Jones?
Well, maybe it's
209.
Oh, okay, so that's
209.
It's
a little bit easier. He's around earlier, but I do believe
what it ends up being when it's like July, though.
I do believe what you said is very true. Is as soon as people start drafting, the love for Aaron Jones and what he did for fantasy teams is going to like skyrocket. It's going to be like, oh my God, I won my fantasy league because he scored 20 touchdowns. I'm going to draft him again. People who aren't good at fantasy, I just offended like 7 million people. People who aren't good at fantasy always dwell in the past. Now, sometimes dwelling in the past and liking players who had good years in previous years, it works. Sometimes it works. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes that one team that always loses in your league because they go off last year's, or previous year's numbers. That's all we got. But we use analytics to make our predictive decisions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You look at certain players like Aaron Jones last year. We liked Aaron Jones going into the season because he had shown signs of being really good. So we searched deep in the analytics and good games that he had to say, okay, maybe he does have a good year, right? Whereas people look back and they say, oh, Aaron Jones had a great year last year and everyone knows he's great now, and they're jumping out and they're trying to get him. And it's like you're living off previous year numbers. Same thing that happened with Mahomes last year. It's like, you did it with Mahomes too. You didn't draft him.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, there's no way Mahomes doesn't end up being the number one quarterback in fantasy. And he ended up being number 6 because of injuries and because of other things, but he wouldn't have finished number 1 regardless.
No, Lamar had just a great year.
So it's like year to year, there's just so much change in who does well and who doesn't. But usually the team that sucks in your league does that very thing. And then we have a team in our league that drafted, he's not bad at fantasy, but we've only seen him for like 2 or 3 years. So, but he drafted Damian Williams in like early second round. And it was like, whoa, we thought he was going to go in the third round. Maybe goes in early in the second, like picked like 12, I think it was, or 13. And that guy was just, he wasn't what you anticipated him being in RB1, spent most of the season on the bench. And that's just living off last year's hype. You know what I mean? So I think avoid living on last year's hype. I do all that talking to say, I don't know. I'm going to say it's hard.
You got to pick somebody.
I'm just looking at our top 24 running backs right now and some of the wide
receivers.
That's what I was going to say. And some of the wide receivers. And I just don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a problem. And as much as I love Chris Godwin.
Okay.
I'm going to have to take Chris Godwin. Do you know where he's going right now?
I don't.
Pick 15.
So that is high. That is
so
high.
For me, especially, like, I think he's good, but it was for everyone not named Michael Thomas, it was a down year for receivers. The talent was the fantasy point scoring was more spread out, and Chris Godwin had a good year, but in a normal year, what Chris Godwin had for numbers would have been like 5, 6, or 7. So I think what you're going to see from Chris Godwin is a little bit of a regression and a slide down the board. Tom Brady, I don't know if they're going to throw it as much as they did last year. So we're going to have to see what the Buccaneers do at running back in the draft and different things. But for me, Chris Godwin is definitely a guy that I see being overdrafted, overrated, overhyped, and then comes out this year and just, not lays an egg, but possibly doesn't play as well.
I could definitely see Chris Godwin, but the guy I was thinking of is actually Mike Evans, also on the Buccaneers.
Oh, that's very true. Mike Evans, one pick after Chris Godwin right now.
Yeah, and I just think
true.
that's too high for somebody who it doesn't really fit the way Tom Brady plays. I have said I think Mike Evans is going to be overrated all year, although it doesn't mean he's not going to be good. He's still a great receiver, and Brady still has something left in the tank, I think. So he'll be good,
right?
But I don't think he'll be 16th overall good.
Yeah,
in fantasy drafts.
That's very true. I think if you had to choose one guy to pick, I'd take Chris Godwin probably.
I would
just
too,
because of the way, like, you talk about the way Bruce Arians' system works, and then you talk about the way Tom Brady works, and it kind of fits. And the fact that Chris Godwin is a slot receiver, it just, some people are trying to drum up the, Tom Brady. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, Tom Brady's still got a deep threat. He can throw it down the field. He's got a great arm. He's still got arm strength." And I'm like, yeah, he's still got arm strength. He hasn't had deep, and people pull out the advanced analytics on his accuracy deep, and they're like, oh, he's a top 6 quarterback and deep accuracy last year. But I just, watching Tom Brady every single game, every single week, sometimes watching the games is a little more than analytics. And if you actually watch the games, Tom Brady doesn't have the accuracy deep. He misses everyone deep. Yeah,
at this point in his career.
I'm not talking about arm strength to get it down the field. If you want to talk about arm strength, I think
he does. I mean, he'll hit somebody sometimes. It's not like he's awful at it, but he's just not great.
Not the same player he used to be. So anyway, I think that you're right. It definitely does hurt Mike Evans. I think both Bucs wide receivers are down. Are they still top 10 guys? Probably.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Low end wide receiver ones, but
sure.
They're still good. So we'll spend a long time talking about them next week or the week after, whenever we talk about ranking wide receivers. But those are our overrated players.
Overrated.
And you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to switch the running back ADP so we can see it. So we're not stupid, and I'm sitting there for 20 minutes trying to look it up. And let's move into our RB rankings, part 2. I'm getting more used to sitting in a room by myself talking to myself. You're on.
That's probably just weird.
You're on a phone call right now, but
yeah. So
it's been a long time since I looked across and not seen a dark abyss.
That's so sad.
Yes. I'm making this the bleakest episode we've ever had. Before the episode, I'm like, we need to have some energy. And I'm just falling asleep on the podcast.
The last time I've made contact with another human being that wasn't my wife was 6 years ago.
So true. My mom called me on FaceTime the other day, and I'm like, I probably should call her more often. So let's do this. Let's start with our 13 through 24 running backs in part 2. These are early rankings, so I can guarantee that these are going to change as the offseason goes along. Soon we will have our rankings up on our website. You know what? It might even be a part of a potential draft kit for y'all. So we'll keep you updated and posted with that. But let's start with number 13. The consensus number 13 right now is TG3, Todd Gurley. It is so weird to see some of these guys complete. Like, you have Melvin Gordon, Denver. You got Todd Gurley, Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's just complete changing of the entire running back landscape. And I think the reason why guys like Todd Gurley, they were ranked high, even though there was uncertainty surrounding them. Not only did they not have a great year, but they have fallen. Like Melvin Gordon right now is number 18. That's very far down the rankings, in my opinion. But anyway, number 13, Todd Gurley. Where do you got him ranked?
I have him number 16. So I have him a few spots lower.
Okay.
I think he's got something left in the tank. Part of the reason, though, I always thought he was so successful with the Rams. First of all, he had way more in the tank back then, but also the offensive line was absolutely insane. So the combination of the two just led for great, successful things. Now he's a little older. The knees don't work quite as well. Mm-hmm. And in Atlanta, I feel like similar to Devontae Freeman. Like, I don't think Todd Gurley and Devontae Freeman are too much different at this point in their careers.
Yeah.
I think Gurley's got a little bit more left in the tank, which is why I would have him way higher than I would have Devontae Freeman if he would have stayed.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be like this huge revival of Todd Gurley. I think the way he played last year, I think it'll be similar. He'll get you like 10 points a week, 10, 12 points a week, and be a solid RB2. But I don't know if he's got RB1 left in him.
It really depends, because we've talked about the Atlanta offensive coordinator. Name escapes me, so I'll just call him Atlanta's offensive coordinator. He has had a track record of really bad numbers when it comes to running backs, and that didn't stop last year when Devonta Freeman was on the field. So I think Todd Gurley is more talented than Devonta Freeman. I don't know if you disagree with that or not.
I think at this point in their careers, Gurley definitely. I mean, and Gurley is better than Freeman, so I think he's a little better than him, but it's not like huge.
So I think I honestly, if we're being real on Todd Gurley, I have him ranked 14. You have him ranked 16. So it's neither of our number 13 guy. Yours is your number 13 guy is Austin Eckler, by the way. We had a conversation about Eckler on the previous podcast, so I'll just note that now. But Todd Gurley, he's number 14, and I think last year, coming into the season, we obviously, all of us had reservations. I was a little higher on Todd Gurley, and I was wrong about that. But we all had reservations about Todd Gurley's knee, the injury situation with him. Was he actually going to be as good as he's been in the past? And when you looked at how the Rams utilized Todd Gurley last year, it wasn't Todd Gurley not being able to perform. Now, he was terrible on the ground, and I don't know why. Maybe it is the knee. Yards per carry wise, I think he had 3.9 or 4 or something like that, which is way down from what he normally gets. So he didn't have the greatest year running on the ground, and he had some really, really good performances. But what I noticed is that the Rams just didn't use him as often as you would like them to. They were giving red zone carries to Malcolm Brown. They were trying to get Darrell Henderson involved. They were trying to get Malcolm Brown involved. They were trying to get Todd Gurley involved. They were trying to go committee, and it wasn't working. And later in the second half of the year, you started to see this Todd Gurley emergence, when they started to give him the ball, even though he wasn't that great on the ground, because he's never had a great yards per carry number. You know what I mean? And
it's always been touchdowns.
It's always been touchdowns that have carried him. So for me, the question is, does Todd Gurley completely blow in Atlanta because they can't run the football? Or is he a guy that Atlanta has struggled in the past in the red zone? They like to throw it to Austin Hooper, which they don't have anymore. Julio Jones, for some reason, never gets targeted in the red zone. Like, he's completely irrelevant there. And
he just gets double teamed, and then they don't even.
They love to get the ball to Calvin Ridley. So it's like, when they get inside the 5, do they just hand this thing off to Todd Gurley? And I'm going to say yes. There's no one there that would make me believe that he's going to be is Idaho Smith going to take over?
No. And I think losing Austin Hooper as well helps with the red zone thing. He was their biggest red zone target along with Calvin Ridley.
But I think one of the most effective parts of Todd Gurley's game that made him as good as he was over the course of those years, because he was legitimately RB1. He was RB1 for a while there. And I think what makes him, A, is the touchdowns, and B, it's his ability It's his ability to catch the ball in the backfield and make something out of it. So, and I think that's exactly what Atlanta's going to use him for. Like, they'll run the football, and Todd Gurley probably won't do great on the ground. But if he gets like 1,000 or 1,200 yards rushing and gets 600-700 yards through the air, that's a lot. But that's 1,900 all-purpose yards. If he somehow totals 20 plus touchdowns, he's a top 3 running back that you got in like the second or third round. Or I don't even know what his ADP is right now, but it currently is 306. So you're getting him, middle of the second, middle of the third, late third. And it's like, I think that's worth it to me.
I think that's a decent spot. Yeah, that's definitely a good solid spot for Gurley.
But I have him 14. I'm always a little bit higher on Todd Gurley because I love him.
Naturally, yeah.
Naturally. But
I mean, there's pros and cons with him in Atlanta. It's just going to be interesting to see how things work out with him. Because it's a sort of a mystery, because is Atlanta going to use him more than the Rams did last year?
Right.
And is Todd Gurley going to be still effective in a probably weaker offensive line?
Right.
There's little stuff like that is going to be tough to find out with Gurley. But so I think it does kind of make him a risk to draft in the third round. Because if he does turn out to be like a Devontae from last year, you're screwed. But then again, he could also be not quite old Todd Gurley, but definitely closer, and he could maybe be on the edge of being an RB1. So
definitely worth drafting in that third round, I think. But at the same time, I think having him ranked as an RB2 right now is very justified. Both of us obviously do.
Yes.
I think, there's a safe conversation that you can have saying that he's going to be, an RB1, but it would be probably low end. But he has concerns. He's changed teams. You know what I mean? The next guy we're going to talk about, I believe, is, we're not going to talk about Melvin Gordon for a while, but the other guy, Melvin Gordon, changed teams as well. So it's like people are a little bit more concerned about those guys. But let's move on to the next guy. Miles Sanders, you had him 10.
I did. I'm very high on Miles Sanders.
I would agree with that. And I actually might move Miles Sanders up as we go, but I have Miles Sanders, I believe, in the same, he's one spot lower for me, number 15. I do like Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley ahead of him. But I think 15 is safe right now. I think it's a safe position for him because I think there is going to be a lot of hype surrounding Miles Sanders. And he has a great offensive line. He has a good quarterback. They don't have any receivers.
He might be their number one receiver.
Yeah, honestly. And he's got a lot of good things going for him. I might even move him into similar to where you are, like 10 to 12. But what I'm nervous about is the hype surrounding Miles Sanders getting too big, him becoming a late second round pick, and then me drafting him and then like overpaying for a guy that may not put up RB1 numbers next year. You know?
Somebody who you expect to put up RB1 numbers but haven't seen it, which can always be a risky pick.
And I think there's would you agree that there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding Sanders right now?
I think, I don't know about a lot, but there is uncertainty in the fact that he's never been an RB1.
He's performed as an RB1 before.
He's had weeks, but not a full season, obviously, after his rookie year.
So the early ADP has him at 401, tied with Kerryon Johnson.
I would love that.
That's a great area. I think, as we saw last year, guys we absolutely loved, it was a similar conversation with everyone else, and they moved up. But I'm having a hard time putting him ahead of those two old men I was talking about, Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley, just because I haven't seen it. And, I think as the offseason goes along, and frankly, if Philly doesn't get another running back, that might be enough for me just to move him into the top 12. But I gotta see a little bit more as the offseason goes along to see what the Eagles try to do to the rest of their offense, because they've not really done anything. Their offensive line's the same. They have the same tight end who's really good, but Alshon Jeffrey's there and doesn't want to be there. They've been trying to trade him. They actually
lost a wide receiver.
They lost a wide receiver. Not that he was any good, but
no, he was awful.
I don't know. Like I think the offense as a whole, like one of the things we talked about, something, in our show, go back to early January, and we had a show where we talked about things we learned in 2020. And one of the things that I learned is obviously the offense surrounding a player has a huge impact on his fantasy outcome, unless he's extremely talented like Saquon Barkley, or Christian McCaffrey.
Correct.
But unless he has one of those names, that guy is not
typically right. You need a good offense.
So do the Eagles suck? I'm going to say no.
No. Yeah, I'd say no as well.
But at the same time, there is some concerns offensively. They've been an inconsistent offense at best in the past. Carson Wentz has had one fantastic year.
Yeah.
So I think I like Carson Wentz. I like the Eagles. I like the Eagles offense. I think they're a good football team, and I think they'll probably be in a lot of games. But I think there's too much uncertainty for me. And if let's say we get to August and Miles Sanders at 401 is holding, I'm moving him up to like 9 or 10. Because I can't justifiably not draft him in that spot. So the next guy, number 15, is Chris Carson. Mm-hmm. I have Chris Carson 16. Where do you got him?
I have him very low. I have him 20.
Okay. I actually, so I look at last year's Chris Carson. You're down on him this year, very down on him. Why? We'll ask that question now. Why?
It's partly because I just like some guys that are ranked lower.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we'll talk about some of them later, but
Right.
there's a few names that you'll be like, oh, okay, that I just had ahead of Chris Carson.
Right.
So not entirely his fault, but I am a little down on him because of the season he had last year. He was good when he had the opportunity, which was most of the season. But we saw something last year, which was kind of the emergence of Rashad Penny, who had a very, very good season when he was out there. And I think Carson's a fumble away or an injury away from losing that job, which you can't say about a lot of the guys on this list, but you can say about Chris Carson, who I'm legitimately concerned. And heck, even if maybe training camp, if Penny has a better training camp, although I don't even know if we're going to get a training camp because quarantine, but
we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. If we do get a training camp and Penny has a better one, I mean, I could easily see Penny getting more carries than Chris Carson.
Yeah. That is a valid point. I've been a Penny truther all along. You know that.
Yeah.
I do like Chris Carson, and to see the stuff that he has done in the past has shown enough to say, okay, this guy's legit. You know what I mean? Because they like to give it to Chris Carson. If he has the job, he's getting 20 touches. You know what I mean? 15 to 20 touches a game. Like,
yeah.
It's just those two variables are very concerning, and I think that's why we probably both have him, in that back end RB2 category. But he had some really good games last year when he was on the field.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he's still a good running back.
There's nothing really that changed in that Seahawks offense to make me believe that, you know what I mean, they're going to make that change. So this is all speculation at this point. The Chris Carson, Rashad Penny debate is really all speculation. It's not like the added Rashad Penny this offseason and now you're like, oh my God, what's going to go on with Chris Carson? You know what I mean? It's more of that, maybe Rashad Penny takes over that job. We haven't seen the Seahawks for a while. I think they like Carson. I think they want to roll with him, but there is a unsurmountable amount of skepticism surrounding Chris Carson for me. You do have him a little higher. I was a little lower. I got him a little higher. Wow, that was hard to say. Right now he's getting drafted 309. Which is not bad.
Yeah.
Similar spot to where he was last year.
Like, I don't mind Chris Carson, and I wouldn't mind him on my team. It's just if I have to pick between Chris Carson and some of these other guys, I'll take the other guy because I just think the concerns are too big for Chris Carson.
Right. I was toiling over two guys right next to each other, and we'll talk about the next guy, Kenyon Drake, number 16 on the ECR. You have him where?
14.
Okay, I have him 17 right after Chris Carson. This was a tough one for me. I was toiling between Chris Carson and Kenyon Drake, and I might actually move Kenyon Drake up past Chris Carson, put Carson 17. I think Kenyon Drake, he's got no one there.
Yep.
Absolutely no one there. I think he is very much an upside pick. And I think that you saw some games last year. I had him on my team. I didn't start him in a position where he probably would have won me a game and gotten me to my fantasy championship where I got toasted, where I would have gotten toasted. But I think, I don't know. For me, Kenyon Drake has been very inconsistent. He fits the Cardinals system perfectly. I think he's going to be an RB1 this year, probably top 5 maybe. But I don't know if I can put him ahead of Chris Carson just yet, because there's also that side of looking at Kenyon Drake and going, that offense still isn't great. Yeah. That team still sucks. Yep. So I don't know. I'm nervous. Where did you have Kenyon Drake?
So
sorry.
I have Kenyon Drake 14. You were the one who convinced me to put him 14. And now
maybe I'll join you.
I don't know. Kenyon Drake absolutely dominated when he came in for the Cardinals and was able to get the full-time role. The team traded David Johnson and put a transitional tag on Kenyon Drake. They They believe Kenyon Drake is the guy. They're going to use him. He's going to be a workhorse on that team.
For sure.
And sure, the offense or the team isn't great yet, but that offense added DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
They still have Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk. Kelly Murray's going into his second year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they improved the offensive line with a minor move or two, but they also have the drafting coming, which they probably will continue to improve the offensive line, which wasn't awful last year anyway. Wasn't great, but wasn't awful. Like it's not like he's in a bad situation. It's not like this is the Miami Dolphins from last year.
That's very true.
It's a pretty good. It's a really good offense actually.
As we were talking,
emerging.
I switched Kenny Drake and Chris Carson. Kenny Drake's now 16 guys, and Chris Carson is 17.
Okay, there you go.
You want to know his ADP?
Sure.
602.
Stop it.
If that holds.
Yeah, this is going to change.
My pants is off.
It has to change. If that does not change, I mean, my goodness.
I think for me, I got to let go a little bit. I don't know. As we have this conversation, I got to let go of Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley.
I know. You got to evolve.
Yeah.
That's the problem with fantasy football every year. It's
ever changing. But Melvin, I don't know. I might move Melvin Gordon and Todd Gurley down to 15 and 16 and put Miles Sanders and Kenyon Drake at 13 and 14 as we're speaking. But I don't know. I absolutely, like I said, like everything that you said, I've said in the past for Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
He's a extremely talented running back. He has that fantasy point per opportunity at 1. And if the guy touches the ball 250, 300 times this year, which in that offense, if they run as many plays as Cliff Kingsbury likes to run, there's a great chance that he reaches the 300 threshold. And if he does that, he's a top 3 running back. And to get that type of player in the 6th round, I mean, come on, you can't beat it.
That's a league winner.
Right.
I don't think he'll end up being in the 6th round.
No, I agree with that. That's definitely not.
He'll probably end up being like a 4th or 3rd round pick, though.
Number 17 on this list, Mark Ingram. For ECR, his ECR is 17. Mm-hmm. I have him 19. You have him
also 19, actually.
Okay, all right. It took us 6 to 12 guys, but I think for me, I love Ingram. I really do. Mm. I think in that offense, it's one of the best offenses in the NFL. Yep. They're very good at running the football. I think they have guys behind Mark Ingram that they're starting to, like, they drafted Justice Hill in the 4th round. And that's a guy that we'll probably talk about as a sleeper this year. I'm not putting him on my sleeper list yet, but I think there's a chance that Justice Hill gets an opportunity because he is a talented running back. But they like to use multiple running backs. Mark Ingram came in, he had a great season, but he is not. He's a perfect RB2. We'll just say that. If you want a consistent flex, probably Mark Ingram is the best guy for the job. But he's a guy that gets you 7, 8 fantasy points a game, and then you cross your fingers and hope he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how Mark Ingram is. And I like Mark Ingram too, but with the Gus Bus there, they do like to use him a lot. I think Mark Ingram it's pretty much the same role he was in last year.
Which was not going to change very much.
Yeah, which is good. Like he's definitely solid, worth like a weekly flex to me, but like I don't think he's going to be like nowhere near.
Right now he's 503. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. That's a good spot.
That's not a bad area. You could. That's an area where you could get him and just stick him in your flex and cross your fingers.
All right. Yeah.
But 19 low end RB2, not a bad area for him. But there are guys that I like over him. Obviously, I think just upside wise, like if you're looking at a safe pick in fantasy, I guess Mark Ingram is that, because I think the youth of Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, the potential of a Devin Singletary. I did rank Devin Singletary one spot behind Mark Ingram, but just the youth and the excitement of certain players in our top 12, top 15 are just better off than having Mark Ingram at this point. I think if you want that safe running back pick, you can go with Mark Ingram. He's always kind of been that safe RB2.
Sure, yeah.
But if you want upside, you definitely got to draft some guys over him. And I think there are guys that have just a higher ceiling overall than Mark Ingram does. I think, Ingram, he's a high floor, low ceiling kind of guy. And that's a safe pick in fantasy every day. Yep. I'm not going to lie. I'm not calling him a bust. I'm not calling him anything. I'm probably going to draft him maybe if he's in the 6th round. Fifth round's not even bad either, but
you know what you're going to get with Mark Ingram.
Yeah, and he's probably the safest pick of the running backs besides anybody in the top 3.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next guy on the ECR is number 18, Melvin Gordon. Now I have him 13, a little bit five spots higher than the ECR.
Yeah. I have him 17, so 1 spot higher.
So I understand ranking him 18, 17. It makes sense. But I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be so many people that fall asleep on Melvin Gordon and forget how good this guy was over the course of this 3, 4. How many years has he been in the NFL? 4 or 5?
Like 4, I think. I want to say.
He's young. He's talented. He hasn't shown in any way that he's not capable of doing what he's done in the past. He just switched teams. He switched teams to a team that likes to run the football, and sources around the team are now saying that it looks like Melvin Gordon is going to take that as a workhorse role. If that's what Melvin Gordon's getting, you're getting an RB1 locked. You're getting a guy that was a top 6 pick last year before he held out. You know what I mean? Like, to me, you're sitting there, people are like, oh, I'm not sure about the situation. And just to give you the ECR on Philip Lindsay right now, he's 26.
Yeah.
2 spots out of the top 24. Now, that's probably RB3, somewhere in that range, is probably an okay place to put him, but that's a little high for a guy that probably isn't even going to get a lot of opportunity.
How people view the situation right now.
Yeah, I like Melvin Gordon this year.
No, I mean, so I agree with you with the fact that people will sleep on him and forget how good he was. Believe it or not, for running back, he is getting old. He's going to be 27 this season when the year starts, which is on the older end for running backs.
Yeah.
But I look at last year and I look at what happened with Le'Veon Bell. Not that it's going to the same thing is going to happen, because I think Denver is a little bit more well run than the Jets, but who isn't? But it is partly like the running back getting a big contract, moving to a different team.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I would like to think that you're right and Melvin Gordon's going to be the workhorse and all that stuff, but I just don't know. And I think Philip Lindsay, the way he's played the last 2 years, he's been very solid for that team. I don't know if they're just going to throw him in the dust and be like, here, take 1 carry a game now. I don't know if he's going to accept that. And
right.
I mean, it won't matter if he accepts it or not, but he might make it a competition, and we'll see. I think he might earn himself at least a few carries a game. Melvin Gordon will still be the starter, but it might still take away some of it.
For me, as long as he's touching the ball, 15 times a game, you can safely say he's going to get 250 to 300 touches. So and if he does touch the ball that much, I just see Melvin Gordon as, like, in the past when he was a top 10 running back, he wasn't touching the ball 300 times a season. Like, he didn't have to. So it's like, I just think the hesitance of a lot of people on Melvin Gordon is not really, like, was Royce Freeman and Philip Lindsay, were they good running backs in that system in Denver?
Neither one of them were great. No, they did okay.
Neither one of them were great. They did decent. I think they were both somewhere in the RB2, RB3 range.
Yeah.
But they were, to me, they were relatively, like, you see the efficiency numbers for a guy like Philip Lindsay. He was good. And even Royce Freeman was good at times, but they knew, like, why would you go out? This is my big thing, is why would you go out, sign Melvin Gordon to say, oh, you know what? We like this Philip Lindsay guy.
Yeah.
I think they look at that offensive coordinator, walked in, looked at the head coach, looked at the GM, and said, Philip Lindsay is not ever going to be the talent that is Melvin Gordon. And you can argue whether or not running backs are valuable in football in real life and that people shouldn't overvalue them. That's another conversation for a different podcast. But for us, we're fantasy football people. And if he's looking at Melvin Gordon saying, I like him as a workhorse, then I'm not concerned about Philip Lindsay at all. I'm sorry. I'm not concerned about an undrafted free agent like that has had to prove himself to the third offensive coordinator. Like, it's over. I know people love Philip Lindsay. It's over for him. He's going to be a third down back, probably.
I hope so.
He'll get opportunity.
Sake, but like you look at all this stuff so far, like all the articles right now.
The situation's not different though. That's
Broncos
the thing.
Believe Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay can coexist.
Was Austin Eckler not in Los Angeles when Melvin Gordon was?
He was, but I don't think he got as many carries as people think he did when Melvin Gordon was there.
Yeah.
Like, he did have a few carries, but he was more passing game. I think Philip Lindsay could steal more carries than Austin Eckler did.
I think they
which
don't.
Is the only reason I have him lower.
Oh shoot! I just almost.
If Denver comes out and cuts Philip Lindsay or trades him or gets rid of him, then that changes things for me. And I think Melvin Gordon should be a lot higher up. But for now, it's hard for me to put Melvin Gordon higher than 17.
Yeah, I mean, even last year, how many games did he play? Frickin'
A. Melvin Gordon played, I want to say like 13.
12 games again.
12. Okay.
Every year he plays 12 games. He still had 162 carries and 55 targets, even though Austin Eckler, like, I'm curious to see how many touches Eckler was getting through that stretch. But in 2018,
he was getting a lot.
In 2018, he finished as a top 6 running back, I want to say, on a per game basis. And he had 50 catches and 175 carries. So he had just around 200. I don't want to butcher my math. I think that's 225 touches. Is that right?
Yeah. Geez,
so
I don't know.
That was in 2018, and he had a similar number in 2019. If you're telling me that Melvin Gordon, behind a good offensive line in a system that will probably be decent for him, do you think he's not going to get 225 touches next year?
I think he should. I would guess that he would, but
see, that's where my thing is like, if he does get the touches, would that not lead him to being that? I don't know. Royce Freeman last year had 176 touches. So that was, and you were sitting there thinking like, oh, he's not going to get that many, and then like when you look at Philip Lindsay, he was around that same ballpark area, 224 carries and 35 receptions. Right. Mm-hmm. So I could see Philip Lindsay in a Royce Freeman role next year, and Melvin Gordon in Melvin Gordon role, maybe even getting more carries and more catches than he did. I don't know why people are down on him. I think it's going to take a little while, but I'm in. Draft Melvin Gordon.
All right. Where is he going?
211.
Yeah, it's too high for me.
Okay. Let's move on to the next guy. We have to speed it up a little bit. Melvin Gordon stopped us. Marlon Mack is 19. I have him 22. You have him
24.
24. I think the obvious situation with Marlon Mack is that he's not and has never been really a pass-catching running back.
Correct. Yep.
He really, really desperately needs those 100-yard rushing games with touchdowns, and sometimes he just doesn't put them up. And that kind of production leads to inconsistency. And I think there's concern surrounding Marlon Mack. Is he a good running back? And can he be a solid low-end RB1 at some point? Probably. But I just think the lack of production in the passing game puts him at 22 on my list. I would rather have like some people would have Kerryon Johnson lower than him. But I have to put Kerryon ahead of him. I can't justifiably have pass catching running backs be put ahead of Marlon Mack at this point.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how I feel and why he's 24 and barely even made the list for me.
I think I misspoke there. I have to have pass catching running backs ahead of Marlon Mack.
Every single person I have in the top 24 can catch the ball. And I think that's the biggest difference between all of them and Marlon Mack.
Right.
I think on the ground, he'll be solid. I think pretty similar to last year. But there's just other guys I would rather have on my team.
Yeah. I think there's also a little bit of injury concern with Marlon Mack.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think the hype was there for him. I forgot where he finished. Let me pull that up in 2019. Sorry. I want to pull that up. Give me one second.
It was relatively high, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it was like top 10, but it was.
Yeah. All right. So through 16 weeks, Marlon Mack, he was hurt. Only played 13 games. He was number 22.
Okay.
So, but on an average per game basis,
probably would have been like the top 15.
He was even further down the list, somewhere between 25 and 30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, it was 11.9 points per game. Like I said,
last year?
This was last year.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the year before.
No. Like last year, he was definitely he's a good running back, and he can do good things. I just think the inconsistencies are the big thing. Is that for Indianapolis, they're a good football team. I think with Phillip Rivers, they're actually, I don't know, they'll probably take a small step forward. He'll probably take a small step forward, or the Colts will take a small step forward in terms of production. So that might help Marlon Mack a little bit, but the biggest thing is obviously for him is how much opportunity he gets in regular games. Like if Indy's always playing from behind, then Marlon Mack is completely useless. And last year they spent a lot of the season playing from behind.
One thing is, like, Phillip Rivers, his favorite thing to do is check down to the running back.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon thrived in that situation.
Right.
And Marlon Mack does not catch the ball. So if that's an emphasis maybe in the offseason and he develops the ability to catch the ball, I think that could definitely change things. But as of right now, that's going to be Naheem Hines. So he's gonna be the pass catching back in that offense. And Marlon Mack is going to be pretty much similar to what he was last year, I think.
Okay. Number 20 on this list, ECR is Devin Singletary. We have Devin Singletary I have him at 20.
I have 15, baby.
You love it.
I love Devin Singletary.
I have him. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I have him in the same spot as the ECR right now. I think I love Devin Singletary. I think he's fantastic. The fact that the Bills were floating rumors that they were going to sign Melvin Gordon kind of concerns me a little bit. Not that I think Devin Singletary's talented and he's good and he should get all the work. Don't get me wrong. But I have this striking feeling that the Bills are going to do something real stupid.
That is possible.
And they're going to bring in a running back. And it's going to destroy all of our hopes and dreams for Devin Singletary.
They might bring in a running back because I think he's the only one on the roster right now, or I think it's even TJ Yeldon, but I don't even know if TJ Yeldon will ever play. But what if they bring in somebody like a Duke Johnson? Like, would that concern you at all?
No, but what would concern me is them trading for like a Phil Lindsay.
So that it depends on what they do, but as of right now, I mean, if Singletary is the workhorse in that offense, he averaged 5.1 yards per carry last year. He was so efficient and so very, very good when he had the opportunity last year. Frank Gore, the running back killer, kind of stunted it of how good he really was last season. He also missed like not quite half the season, I think.
Right.
But he didn't miss a lot of games, and he still produced very well. He missed a couple games there. But what's great about Singletary for me is his involvement in the passing game as well. He had 41 targets on 29 catches, 2 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
And I think 10 games played, which is very solid. And again, if he's the workhorse, like, he's an absolute beast. And I think he would be a steal draft.
I agree.
Singletary.
If we get after the NFL draft, if the ocean parts and they don't do anything, I'll probably move Devin Singletary to, I want to say 16 or 17. I think that's a good place for. I don't want to take. I would rather have Melvin Gordon. I mean, I would rather have Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake over him. And I don't know if I would put him ahead of Chris Carson yet. But we're also talking about guys like Le'Veon Bell. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
There are some guys that have the pedigree who've shown that they can do great things in the league over Devin Singletary. But I do like the youth. I was a Devin Singletary guy last year. I'm a Devin Singletary guy this year. Right now, Singletary's 408. So that's a great spot if you want to draft him. I am concerned about the hype surrounding him. I think there's going to be some people who hype him into the third round, maybe mid to early third round. And if that happens, I'm far more concerned about drafting him than I would normally, just because he's got a lot more uncertainty than Miles Sanders. And that is...
Yeah.
Where Miles Sanders, I have a very good feeling that he's probably going to finish as an RB1. I like that, which is why I'm willing to move him up even further up my board. Whereas Devin Singletary, I believe in, but there's a stark contrast between, the Bills from last year and the Bills from what we think they're going to be this year. And like, if the Bills go back to being suck,
which I don't know if we kind of disagree on that one.
Yeah,
but
you like the Bills.
I do. I'm part of the
Let's
mafia.
not forget about what the Bills. Hey, listen. If the Patriots suck, I'm a Bills fan. What can I say? No, but yeah. I mean, I do like him. I like him over Ingram, Carson, and Bell, who I have. All three of those guys I have ahead of him. I do like him better than those three guys, but I'm like, I don't know if I can just rank him up there yet.
See, the difference I think between me and you with these rankings is I have a lot of guys who I think will be very, very good in 2020.
Yeah.
It's not like I have some of like the veterans lower. Like I got Todd Gurley lower. I got Melvin Gordon lower. I have Chris Carson lower. And Mark Ingram and Le'Veon Bell, I think we have the same. But I have some of these younger guys like Miles Sanders and a Josh Jacobs and a Devin Singletary and a Kenyon Drake even.
Yeah.
That I think are going to just have very good years. And I think Devin Singletary will be one of those guys for sure.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I might move him up. We'll see what happens. The next guy on our list is Le'Veon Bell, who's 21 ECR. We got to talk about 4 more running backs, so let's do it relatively. Oh,
sure.
Sorry, hold on. 4 more running backs, so let's do it relatively quickly. Who did I say? Le'Veon Bell. I got him 18.
I also have him 18.
Last year, I told all of our fantasy football community, I told the world that Le'Veon Bell was going to bust. And that he wasn't going to be as good as we thought. And it was purely because of his 0.6 or 7 fantasy point per opportunity number. And that the reason why he was an RB1 many moons ago, and he was that top 3 running back for so long was because the Steelers gave it to him almost 400 times. Any running back you give the ball 400 times is going to end up being a top 5 running back, for sure. So Lev Bell's just not that efficient by himself. Very good, very talented. He's a great running back. In New York blows. Their offense sucks. Their team sucks. Sam Donald's a great quarterback, so I'll put him in a box and say he's awesome. But and Lev Bell's an amazing running back, but I think there are some limitations to what Lev Bell can do in New York. They're not going to give him the same amount of opportunity, and that showed through last year. And I think that unless the Jets do something drastic on offense, Le'Veon Bell is just going to end up being a mid to low end RB2 this year. So that's why I have him ranked 18.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really disagree with you. Last year, I underestimated how bad the Jets organization really is run, and how poorly that team was. And they were crappy because I thought the Jets were actually going to be decent last year. They added some defensive guys. Their offense looked okay. It was year 2 for Sam Darnold, but the offensive line was just complete garbage. So I think Bell, people might sleep on Bell a little bit this year because they faded him so much. Where somebody like me or you will see him available a little bit later in the draft and be like, "Oh, that's
I'm all right with that."
He's still kind of the workhorse on that team.
Yeah, right now he's going. In me, what'd you say you had him? 18? Yeah, I got 18 too. So right now he's being ADP'd at the 15th running back off the board. So he is a little bit higher than high, we would take him. But if he's available as the 18th running back off the board, I'll take him.
I'll gladly take him. Like I don't have a problem taking Le'Veon Bell on my team.
Yeah.
He's just not the same guy that we were talking about last year or previous years.
Right. Let's move on to James Conner. I don't believe he is on. He's on my list. Is he on your list?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so I have him 24. What do you got him?
22.
Why?
I think when he was out there last year, he didn't play a lot, but he had a stretch where he had 3 bad games, but then he had 3 very good games where he had 20-plus fantasy points in a row, and then he got injured again. And it's just, with Connor, it's just about staying healthy, and I believe they're probably going to add a running back in the draft, which will not help him. But I think he'll still be the guy in Pittsburgh, which is still a very running back-friendly system. And I think as long as he stays healthy, he'll be very good, and he could be higher on this list if he stays healthy, but it's just all about health with him and who they add at running back.
Yeah, I have him. Where did you say you had him again? I'm sorry.
I have 22.
22. Okay, I have him at 24. There are guys I like ahead of him. I like James Conner, but it is hard. It is hard for me right now to take him any higher than the 24th running back off the board. I think the fact that they're going to draft a running back is very, very scary for James Conner. I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
I think there is a real possibility. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I just feel like it might happen. I think there's a real possibility that James Conner might be cut before the season starts. If they really like the guy that they're going after.
Draft.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens. It's very early. I have no sources. Last year we predicted Frank Gore? Who was it that got cut from the Bills?
LaShawn McCoy.
Oh, LaShawn McCoy. Yeah. So he's a guy that doesn't look like he's going to be cut now, but he could definitely be on the bubble. I think they didn't like Le'Veon Bell's injury problems, and James Conner has been 3 times
way
that.
Worse.
We know Pittsburgh likes a workhorse. They don't like going with multiple backs. So I think they're going to scout and try to find the next guy. His contract is up at the end of the year, so maybe they won't cut him, they'll trade him, but I think there's uncertainty that James Conner is even with Pittsburgh by the time the season started. And he's a very tradable, cuttable guy because he doesn't have a large cap hit. So we'll have to see what happens. If they like the guy they're going to have, they can hold on to him. But I got him 22, and I think he will probably fall down the board even further. Do you think he's even worth drafting at this point? He's at 407.
Not at 407.
Okay.
I think there's other guys there that I would just take.
I'm about to get a lot of hate for saying that he's going to get cut.
I mean, it's possible if they draft the running back high.
Yeah. So number 23, Kerryon Johnson, where you got him?
Kerryon, I have him 21. So
I have 21 as well.
20. Oh, look at that.
So Kerryon Johnson, I might even move. I'm thinking about moving Singletary and Kerryon ahead of Mark Ingram and putting Ingram at 21.
Yeah, me too. He's somebody who could fly up the board.
I think Kerryon, we both like Kerryon. He's a great pass catching back. The Lions offense we've talked about in the past. I'm a little more concerned about Matt Stafford having a good fantasy year, but they're still a really good offense. They get good wide receivers. They got a great tight end, a good offensive line. Kerryon showed he could be an RB1 last year and the season before. And so we're just waiting on the Kerryon Johnson breakout. So that's, he's at 401, I think, right now, but I like him.
That is high. Wow.
I like him a lot. And I might even move him up a little bit. I'm concerned. Like I said, he's going as the 16th running back off the board, ADP wise. So
once people start drafting, he's going to go lower because of the season he had last year where he was injured. Not a lot of people remember him. He was supposed to be a breakout guy last year. People took the chance on him, and then he got injured, and it backfired. So I think he's somebody who could sneakily start falling down in your draft.
Yeah,
that you could definitely jump on because he is the workhorse in that offense. And I think as long as Matt Stafford is good, that team could be sneaky good offensively next year.
Agreed.
Which would very help Kerryon Johnson. And he's somebody who could, I have him 21 right now, and I think there's a chance that he could be like a top 15 running back next year. So, or top 15, top 12 type of running back. So I definitely wouldn't overdraft on a guy like Kerryon Johnson, but he's someone who I could easily see falling down in drafts that you should snag.
So I'm trying to think of the guy you didn't mention. You didn't rank somebody. Oh, so there's 2 guys that we disagreed on. Mine is the Mine's the 23rd guy, and yours is the 23rd guy.
23rd guy.
So
yeah,
I just
different 23.
We'll talk about our different 23s right now, because the one guy that is in the ECR we didn't rank in the top 24. Number 24 ECR is David Montgomery. If you saw my tweet, if you saw my tweet earlier today, I think it was Brad Evans tweeted out a video of Chris Cuomo interviewing Andrew Cuomo, ask him if he's going to run for president, and he kept on saying no. And Brad Evans said, "Me, when people tell me I should calm down on David Montgomery." So I love David Montgomery. I still love him. I think he has a chance to be a decent running back, but he's more of right now he's 406, which is way too high for me.
Too high. It's way too high.
If he was in the 6th or the 7th round, like, I would totally be on board with him. But to look at that and say, okay, I'm going to go after David opportunity. Let's go. But I like him. I just, knowing what he is and how bad the Bears are at running the football. Like, I don't think it's the Bears anymore. I don't think it's David Montgomery. I don't think it's Jordan Howard. I think it's the Bears. They're just very bad at play calling.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy sucks. I'll say it here. Sorry. Sorry,
it's
Adam.
Weird. Yeah, I think it's weird because his first season with the Bears, he was very creative.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is a really good offensive coach. Yeah. And then something happened last year, and they were just the complete opposite.
He just has never been able to run the football. Do you remember Jordan Howard, like the season before Matt Nagy came in? He had like an RB1 season, and everyone was talking about him. I loved him in the 3rd round. I took him, and then I was like, frick.
Yeah. But even that year with Jordan Howard wasn't good, and running the football wasn't great, but they had so many creative play calls, and the offense worked. And Mitch Trubisky was better because of it too. But then this year, everything fell apart. I
think David Montgomery's talented, and I think he works, and I think he does a lot of great things. And I think people are going to be very down on him. I don't think he's going to get drafted at 406.
No, he's not.
He showed at times he could be an RB1, so we're going to have to see it. But he wasn't off from what the projections were. Wow. Siri is listening to me.
The government is always listening.
The government's always listening. But no, I think just look on David Montgomery. He's talented. He's good. You just I think he needs a system that he's going to work in, and that's what makes me more concerned. I don't know where I have him ranked yet because I haven't gotten that far in my rankings, but I think he's like going to be 26 or 27 probably.
Probably the same range with me.
I love David Montgomery, so if I can get him like on a trade, a super cheap trade, I would do it.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, I'm out on drafting him.
I actually think Montgomery, I know he's really high right now, but I think once people start drafting, he is somebody who's going to be very late in drafts, and you might be able to get as a sneaky potential upside type pick.
So let's get to our 23 guy really quickly. So I have Damian Williams. Hey, who do you got?
And I have David Johnson.
Okay, so I don't know where I'm ranking David Johnson yet. Haven't decided. Maybe he'll end up in my top 24. Maybe he won't. He just was not good last year. I like him in Houston. I think he's good. He's decent. But anyway, you can explain why you have David Johnson that high in a second. But for me, Damian Williams, I told you last year, don't draft Damian Williams. I don't like him. I hate him. He's not good.
Yeah.
And I went on that train. I thought it was because he was going to be overhyped and drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round. And he was. And then he didn't work out. And I think we're starting to see a change in the Chiefs system where they're trying to control the clock a little bit more. And I think if Damian Williams, this is the big thing, is a lot of people are now believing that the Chiefs might not even draft a running back. So if no running back is picked up for the Chiefs and Damian Williams ends up being the running back, so many people are going to be burned on Damian Williams that they're not going to draft him. And he's going to fall down boards, and you can get him at the value that he is. I don't think his ceiling is that high, but I do like, is there a chance that he breaks out next year and is an RB1? Yes. I don't think that's a great chance.
Yeah.
But I think for a guy that you can get right now in the, oh my goodness, I'm still scrolling, in the 9th round, I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if the Chiefs don't pick up another running back, that definitely will change my feelings on Damian Williams.
Yeah.
I still think they will. I think they're going to draft a guy, and I think that's going to be the go-to guy. I also heard something that would take your pants right off, that they could be interested in Leonard Fournette.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Leonard Fournette would become the number 3 running back in my.
Yeah, he would fly up boards. I don't know. I don't think the Chiefs.
Dude, I might draft him in my first round pick.
Yeah.
If that happened, my pants are off.
I don't think the Chiefs have the ammo to pull that off, but it shows you that I think they are interested still in adding a running back. But if they don't, yeah, Damian Williams for sure, I think would be in my
That's
top
why
24.
he's ranked so high. If they pick up a running back,
you drop him a little bit.
Yeah, I'll drop him all. Like if they get draft a running back in the first round, I'm dropping him like right off my board.
Yeah.
And the guy, whoever they draft, will get replaced at 23.
Yeah. And for me right now, it is David Johnson because he did not have the greatest year in Arizona. I don't think they really believed in him.
Yeah.
Houston traded DeAndre Hopkins partly for David Johnson. So I think, and that was Bill O'Brien that made that deal. He is the GM and coach.
Bill O'Brien.
So he definitely sees something in David Johnson, believes he still has a lot left in the tank.
Yeah.
And I think he feels, I don't know if it's true or not, but he feels that David Johnson is finally like that star running back that Houston has been searching for years, really since Arian Foster.
Yeah.
So I think they feel very confident in David Johnson that he's going to be very good, which is why I have him in the top 24. I don't know how that's going to play out, though, with Duke Johnson and Carlos Hyde. They still have guys there. I do like the situation in Houston for him, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Duke Johnson is a UFA, but I could be wrong. And I do think they'll use David Johnson, which we'll see if he's still good or not. But if he is still good, like he'll still be productive. And I think people will be sleeping on David Johnson as well because of that.
This year is difficult.
No, there's so many like great running backs from a year or two ago that are just like.
It's a very large transitionary year. If I told you 2 years ago that Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, and David Johnson would all be ranked as RB2s.
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell. The people would be like, what the freak are you talking about?
Yeah.
And David Johnson right now is at 609. It makes me a little nervous because there are guys that I really like. I like David Johnson, and I would take him at 609. You know what I mean? Like that is a great spot to take him. Todd Gurley in the 4th round. Todd Gurley in the 3rd round, yes, please. And Melvin Gordon, you know what I mean? In late 2nd, like that. Those areas for me are great. I run the risk of looking at this and going, holy smoke.
You're missing out on
all these really
guys.
great old running backs and you're missing out on the new guys. So this is where you have to really look at this. Figure out what guys. Like I really like Melvin Gordon. Todd Gurley might slip down my board a little bit because I'm buying into Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, and Devin Singletary. Next year could be a big year in changing the landscape for running backs. We've already seen Delvin Cook come up.
Yeah.
So like even for David Johnson, like I'm trying to hold back on my excitement that he's in a situation where they do like him and they're going to give him the ball a lot. But it's also a situation where you look at David Johnson the last 2 years and he was just horrible efficiency wise last year. And even the season before he wasn't great efficiency wise. So I just look at David Johnson and say, there's something not right with David Johnson. There's something not right with DJ. And in the 6th round, okay, I'll take a chance. But if he ends up being a 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, I'm out.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to take him in the 3rd or 4th round either. There's just too many guys. But late 6th round, I'm absolutely down to take David Johnson there.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. That'll do it. That'll do it for our rankings. Part 2, running back rankings 2020. We'll update them as the offseason goes along.
Definitely update them.
Yeah. We'll see you next week, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.